Was the historic sinking of the Titanic in 1912 really predicted in a book and premonitions beforehand? Tim, the Weird History Man here with another look at Beyond the Unexpected.
Reality has more than once been foreshadowed by fiction.
14 years before the Titanic even set sail, an American author named Morgan Robertson wrote a short novel called Futility.
But here, just for example, is something that goes beyond, far beyond, anything we might ascribe to mere coincidence.
In it, he described the largest luxury liner in the world, the Titan, sailing across the North Atlantic, striking an iceberg in the same month, April, and sinking with massive loss of life because there weren't enough lifeboats in his fictional ship. The similarities to what actually happened in 1912 are honestly kind of eerie, right down to approximately at least the number of passengers, the size of the ship, its supposed unsinkability.
The vessel in this book was 70,000 tons. The Titanic, 66,000 tons. The length of the ship in these pages, 800 feet. The Titanic, 882 feet. Both made 25 knots. Both carried about 3,000 passengers. Both liners had lifeboats for only a fraction of that number. And both were considered unsinkable.
Perhaps, though, he only hit it so accurately because he had a great working knowledge of ships and their designs.
Oh, one more thing. The author called his ship the Titan.
Named his fictional ship the Titan.
Naming his ship Titan is just too close to be anything but beyond the unexpected. The most heavily documented case of a premonition of the Titanic disaster belongs to J. Connon Middleton, a prominent London businessman. In late March 1912, Middleton booked passage on the Titanic for business. A few days later, he had a vivid nightmare of the ship capsizing and its passengers struggling in the freezing water. The next night, the exact same dream reoccurred. Shaken, he told his wife and several business associates about the dreams, but he felt uneasy about losing the money he'd already spent for his ticket. Fortunately, a few days before departure, he received a cablegram regarding a business delay and canceled his ticket in response. Immediately after the sinking on April 17, 1912, he submitted his formal signed account to the Society of Psychic Research, heavily backed by testimonies from friends he had confided in before the ship ever sailed.
Ah, so Middleton possessed amazing telepathic abilities.
Well, since all of the witnesses who backed up his story were his friends, it's possible they just all went along with his story out of friendship.
I wonder if anyone from Gilligan's Island had premonitions before their 3-hour tour went haywire.
I doubt it. That was all fictional.
But I saw them on your television set.
Yeah, well, never mind. Then there's the Hart family, Benjamin, Esther, and their 7-year-old daughter, Eva. They were second-class passengers hoping for a fresh start in Winnipeg, Canada. Benjamin's construction business back in England was struggling, so he was determined to join his brother in Canada and open up a drugstore. Esther wasn't too happy about leaving home, though, but she went along for the sake of the family.
My mother had an extraordinary premonition, something she'd never had in her life before, never had again. Then came the day I heard my father say to her very crossly, and I wouldn't mind quite so much if you told me what it is you're so frightened of. And she said, I couldn't tell you, I don't know. But I know it's a fatal thing for us to do, we just mustn't go.
Originally, they weren't even supposed to be on the Titanic. You see, they had tickets for the SS Philadelphia, but a massive coal strike in early 1912 threw everything into chaos. Ships were canceling voyages because of it. So the Hart's tickets were transferred to the Titanic. Benjamin thought he was lucky. Now he and his family were going to get to sail on the world's newest, most luxurious ship.
And he said, why are you frightened? And she said, because they say this ship is unsinkable, and that is flying in the face of God.
Esther was deeply religious, and all the newspapers and advertisements called the Titanic unsinkable. So that really bothered her.
And never again in her life did she have premonition.
She was so uneasy that she started sleeping during the day so she could stay awake and be vigilant at night. When the ship did hit the iceberg, that vigilance probably saved her life. Benjamin made sure that Esther and Eva got into the lifeboat. He gave his coat to his wife to keep her warm, refused a spot for himself so women and children could go first. And that was the last time Esther ever saw her husband. And what about that famous line we've all heard? Not even God himself could sink this ship. It's one of the most repeated stories about the Titanic, but there's no solid proof anyone in charge actually said it. It probably started as gossip after the tragedy had occurred, and then got amplified in newspapers and sermons as a way to make sense of the event. An official or corporate representative declaring that a man-made object was immune to the power of God himself would not just be considered edgy or confident back then. It would have been viewed as profoundly offensive, a sin, a PR disaster back in 1912, but as part of the legend of the Titanic that may have overcome the reality. Believe it or not, the Titanic actually had more lifeboats than the current law of the day required. See, the law then was based on the weight of the ship, not the number of passengers. They did falsely believe that if the ship sunk, it would do so slowly and give plenty of time for lifeboats to ferry back and forth to another ship. Also, too many lifeboats were seen as cluttering up their elegant decks, so they limited the number of boats, putting vanity above safety. So in that sense, pride did go before the fall, as the good book warns. At least there was some good that came out of the tragedy. Safety laws were changed and lifeboats were required for everyone on board, and then some in ships afterwards. Now, how the Titanic got to be known as the Unsinkable Ship probably started with a 1911 highly respected engineering trade journal, The Shipbuilder, which ran a technical feature on the Titanic and her sister ship, the Olympic. The article praised the advanced watertight doors and concluded that the design rendered the hull practically unsinkable. Emphasis on practically. Newspapers copied sections of these industry press releases, repeating phrases like designed to be unsinkable as far as it is possible to do so. But once the ship actually sank, the press definitely dropped cautious words like practically or designed to be, with headlines about the tragic irony of the unsinkable ship resting at the bottom of the ocean. But before word got out completely to the whole world about the Titanic's ultimate fate, an article in the Manchester Guardian read, "We have nothing direct from the Titanic, but are perfectly satisfied that the vessel is unsinkable." It goes on to say, "We are not worried about the possible loss of the ship, as she will not go down." Sadly, of course, those words were very wrong. Well, that's today's video. Please like and subscribe and share this video with other people. Let me know what you thought in the comments and what can I do to improve future videos. What do you want to see? Check out some of our other videos for more mysteries in history.